Developments in the case against Ntuthuko Shoba. Of course, judgment is expected on the 25th of March. He's accused of masterminding the murder of his girlfriend, Tshegofatso Pule. The 28-year-old was 8 months pregnant when she was found shot and hanging from a tree in 2020. Now, the case was closed last month, but today Shoba submitted CCTV footage as new evidence. His legal team believes this will sway the judge. eNCA Silindelo Masikane has all the details and joins us. So, Sli, this is fascinating because the case was opened again today to admit this evidence and then closed again. So we're still on track for the judgment at the same time. Please tell us all about this CCTV footage. Is it footage that's just come to light? It just seems strange that it wasn't introduced during the course of the trial.
That's the thing, Sally. It actually was, but it was introduced by the state using still photographs. So what we saw today was the defense actually submitting the footage itself. Now, I'm not sure if we're able to get that footage so that I can be able to speak over it. What we're seeing right now is Tshegofatso Pule as well as Shoba exiting the complex. This is where Shoba lived, and this is where Tshegofatso Pule was picked up by her killer, Malepane, in that infamous silver grey Jeep. Now, you will see that the footage jumps from 6 minutes past 10 to 9 minutes past 10. And the explanation we got from the complex manager during the trial was that this jump happens because the motion or the cameras are actually activated by motion censoring. So when the gate isn't opening or closing, it doesn't record. But you can see Tshegofatso outside the gate, Shoba's outside. She's seemingly speaking to whoever's in the car. We know it's Malepane. Then the footage jumps to 2209 and you see Shoba returning into that complex. The issue here is that 3 minutes. Shoba claims he wasn't outside for 3 minutes, but you can clearly see from the CCTV footage that he was outside at 2206 and then goes back into the complex at 2209. Now, his lawyers are saying that there must be something wrong with the cameras because Shoba claims he wasn't outside the complex for that long. And during the trial, we heard from the killer saying that, they had to actually convince Tshegofatso Pule to go inside the car, which would actually make sense and justify why he would have been outside for that long. But let's just take a listen to Shoba's lawyer.
On the basis of that, the submission is that red flags or red lights should start flashing regarding the reliability of the mechanism, given that even the person that testified here is not even an expert on, he simply is what was told. But as to the history, and he simply says it's a complex entity. And in that complexity, we are faced with these problems that they are before court. That is the farthest I can take our case to. There are problems, obviously, regarding the time that is recorded. Now, he says it could not have been 3 minutes. Now, even if it was 3 minutes of what? Because he has given his lordship his account of now. But is there any other reason to not accept based on his probable explanation, which cannot be said to be false, that it could not have been 3 minutes.
So I'm fascinated because I'm not too sure what Shoba's lawyers are saying this means. Are they suggesting that because there's 3 minutes missing, which we understand is because of the gate activation, or that's the explanation, yes, there's something deeply worrying about the evidence? But this is evidence that wasn't in play. I'm so confused.
Yes, I think we all were, sadly. Even the judge himself was seemingly confused as to what are you actually trying to show me here, because you cannot, from this evidence, tell me that Shoba was not outside for 3 minutes. The CCTV footage clearly shows he was there. The contention is, what was he doing outside for 3 minutes? And I think what the lawyers were trying to prove today was that we can't actually rely on the CCTV footage because of the jump, because we can't see what happens in that 3 minutes. And Shoba maintains he wasn't outside for 3 minutes. But of course, the state itself didn't oppose the trial being reopened briefly to submit this evidence, saying that it's very strange that the defense is coming now trying to put this evidence in dispute when they hadn't had any issues with it prior to the trial concluding, saying that the defense at this point is really grasping at straws. Let's take a listen.
When the still photographs was handed in by agreement and it was not disputed now. When the state called Mr. Watson here, he testified regarding this gap between the 6 minute and the 9 minute. Also, that evidence was never challenged. My learned friend also had an opportunity, after I cross-examined Mr. Shoba regarding the same aspect, to re-examine on that aspect, and he never disputed with him. Now, the state is facing a dilemma now, because it appears that the state was misled as to what is in dispute and what is not in dispute. Now, it's clearly now that even say that what this explanation that the state has presented to this honorable court, in fact, is that Mr. Watson was not qualified to do so. And my lord, if the state knew that that was indeed the state of affairs, I would have consulted with the person that set up that camera and would have presented that evidence.
It does seem rather strange that this happened today. Pule's family were quite upset that Shoba made this application to reopen the case, albeit briefly, to admit this evidence. Why were they upset?
I mean, I think for the first time, many of the family members saw Pule leaving that complex. That is literally the night that she was killed, Sally. That was her walking out of that gate, walking to be killed by Muzikaise Malepane. There were tears. There was a lot of emotions ran quite high today. But the uncle saying that they believe what the defense did today was just simply unnecessary, and all they did was just to reopen old wounds. Let's take a listen.
I honestly think that it wasn't necessary. All that could have been done is just to leave things as they were when the screenshots of the footage were submitted as evidence into the judge. But what I also failed to understand where was this taking us? Because all this evidence that was played today is evidence that was admitted into court, and the defense also agreed for that evidence to be admitted as part of the exhibit into the court. Rather than to say, here, the family, look at your child, here's your child being given to Mr. Malepane, and that was the last moment that we now know that Tshegofatso saw the day on the light.
Yeah, those last images, that video of Tshegofatso Pule getting into that car, the last images of her alive, one can understand the family would have been very broken to see those images today. eNCA Silindelo Masikane covering that case for us, and of course judgment will be on the 25th of March.